What's up, y'all? It's Shuffle, and we're going to talk about the Plague Doctor rework in this vid, along with the other patch notes, since we're getting one big patch a week with the Steadfast Stewards update. I'm going to look at the bottom first, just for the small housekeeping stuff, and then we'll dive into Plague Doctor. Aspirant reduced the immobilize from up penalty from 2 down to 1. Pretty good. 2 is too much, so 1's nice. Fixed an issue with Aspirant unchecked power, still stating that it applied to immobilize. That's a tooltip. Weird reconstruction bleed not correctly applying with unchecked power. Duelist antagonist increased the debuff res piercing on aggressive stance from 10% to 15%. Ordainment thankfully won the poll to be tackled first by the lovely Eric, and what we have now is a chance to spawn based on confessions and region remains unchanged. I prepped that like it was going to be different. But damage buffs change from percentage scaling to flat, like flat damage, and now scale based on region with max HP buffs. And so, starts off with a lot of text here, but you know, they start off with less bonus HP, and then more bonus HP, and then eventually +1, 2, or 3 flat damage. And it just goes up by 10% and all that. It's a lot. I feel like I'm taking more time to explain it than I would be just to read through the whole thing. But I feel like when you start going 10%, and then 20%, and then 30%, but then there's a 5% chance of this, and it's just like, get blasted. Alright? With that said, the flat damage has issues, in my opinion, along with the percentage damage. So flat damage can make things that shouldn't hit that hard on contact hit a lot harder, whereas things that already hit super hard don't really notice it that much. So what I'm feeling like this does is it brings the damage output of some of the weaker enemies up, while it brings the damage output of some of the stronger enemies down, like the on-hit damage. So we'll see how it plays out. They're experimenting with it, and they have contingency plans to revert back to percentage damage, but they ask you to try playing with it. Ordainment still. Remove the inherent dot resist piercing. Good. Several confession buffs have been updated, primarily replace the on-hit dot effects from Acts 2, 4, and 5. Denial remains unchanged. Obsession remains unchanged. And now the resentment effect is now apply on hit burn 3 when self HP is under 100%. I don't know why it says 100, but it's under max. Otherwise, you know, you're going to take a 3 burn hit. And what I like about this is that it's making it so the boss mechanics that you're going to face on the mountain are more prevalent. You know, you have more time to learn from them. And so, for example, Act 2 is like, well, the boss burns me, and I have to do damage to it to stop that. Not exactly how the fight goes, but, you know, you get a taste of both mechanics. Ambition, no longer the bleed and vulnerable. Instead, now it's convert tokens to other tokens. So, if you have block, goes to block plus goes to strength, dodge goes to crit. For Act 5, we have apply on critical hit, invert positive tokens, and when you hit an enemy, you get blighted in return. So we still have like the core mechanics of that fight, which are at the start, you have to deal with blights, and then at other intervals, there's token manipulation. Dev note, there are certain buffs that will not be taken advantage of by all enemies. This is intentional, as Ordainment effects should add texture to fights through situational power that should make players consider matches differently when these effects come into play. We'll be monitoring these unique effects, all of which are subject to tuning changes. More at 11. Kind of the tone I'm getting from it. Exemplar is always ordained. Fine. Ancestor statue no longer ordained. Good. Took 4 months. 5 months. It's fine. And there's a lot of fixes, tooltips, and all that. So now, the actual meat and potatoes is Plague Doctor. Wanderer got touched in the previous patch, but I want to look at something specifically here. Talk about that, and it's Battlefield Medicine. Because there's been some... Like, this got changed, and there's been some discussion around it, so... Battlefield Medicine on Surgeon. Before we get into it, I wanted to read this note specifically. Reduce the raw healing to match Wanderer, but wanted to give it a way to retain some of the improved healing when necessary. The more dots, the bigger the heal provided. When mastered, up to double the value. The reason I specifically wanted to look at this one is because the way the tooltip looks and the wording makes it sound like, you know, just crazy. And this dev note doesn't really help explain that any further. You know, the logic on why the change was made is fine, but in Darkest Dungeon 2, many things are additive properties. So having, for instance, when we talk about weaken tokens, the reason weaken tokens feel like crap is because the percentage, you're adding percentages together. It's an additive type of math. It's not multiplicative. You know, it's not all the math happens here and then weakens at the end of the equation times 0.5. So it does everything here and then cuts it in half at the very end. No. What ends up happening is that the plus bonus damage, you know, that they used to get from Ordainment would be plus 40, and then weaken would be minus 50, so it would come out to minus 10 as a number. And, you know, the actual math for anyone, it's been debated, but the end result is that you're adding 40% to minus 50. And so Battlefield Medicine here getting 33% heal value per type of dot is not it being added to it. It's not you heal 25% plus another 33. Although I think bonus healing already works multiplicatively like that, so it's consistent at least in that way. So instead of, you know, this being some kind of gargantuan heal, what this is you're just adding 33% to whatever the value is, and it caps it double. So that means that, you know, it's a 25% base heal, but then it can go up to 50% of someone's HP if they have all 3 dots. So it's that. I was going to do another just word salad of math, but I'm going to save everyone the trouble. So that's my one thing that kind of bugs me here with that set of notes, is how that worked out. But we'll take a look at the Crossroads. And thank you, I forget who told me this, because I forgot this was even a feature. But you can compare paths in the in this. I forgot this existed. This is a new feature, so. Wanderer, what she had last time was with was it Disso? Okay, Vapors got better. That removes daze and stun, pretty nice. Disoblast, I think they made it a little more consistent. Removes guard, ignores guard, and has 100% weaken chance. And Magraine got buffed. This was surprising, because this move didn't need a buff. I guess people aren't going to be upset if it got buffed, but like, it's... You know, I guess this is the way to buff it, where it doesn't immediately break anything. And cause of death went up on the DOT values. This was to match them removing the critical hits for damage over time attacks, giving you 50% duration bonus. It wasn't, or at least in the previous game, it wasn't supposed to be ×2 or +2 rounds or whatever, which I'm honestly still surprised about that change. I tried not to give opinions in the first video, but for stuff that's been out for a little bit, I'll give what I think more directly. And as far as the crit dot thing being a, you know, genuine nerf across the board, I think it's more harmful to the player, because, you know, a lot of the crit dots came from stuff like Alchemist or Grave Robber. And they took that out. And now we have, you know, the enemies didn't... They weren't super giga threatening all the time with crit dots, you know. It was more of a player-sided thing. But the enemies still put out too much damage over time. So I'm really surprised by tackling it this way. We may be able to still change it, but I would rather they just go through and just adjust the damage over time coming out of enemies, especially because Ordainment still gives them the duration bonus. Just because the damage over time from enemies is just too high. It's not because they crit, the values are too high. You know, you have Hollow Vessel, not Hollow Vessel, of course, but we'll talk about that. So Hollow Vessel on Ordained Cardinal takes all the durations up to 4. And so now each damage over time that sticks is 8 damage. That's 24 damage. Plus the stress, plus the unhit. Not saying all 4 stick every time, but that's a pretty loaded move for something that can be spammed. Then you look at Lady in the Fetter has an attack that can hit both backline units with Blight. And there's still 4 damage at 4 points, you know. So like, the issue isn't necessarily them critting. It's just the values of them are way too high. But from what I'm reading, I don't know if I'm going to get that, you know, through to anyone. So I don't have it in me to even start that fight. But we're talking about Plague Doctor. And so Ounce Prevention got a little buff too. And they changed how Noxious Blast and, not Plague Grenade in this case, but Noxious Blast works differently. They took some of the upfront damage over time, like the duration, they put it into the mastery. So they nerfed it, but made it more desirable to combo off of. And same with Incision, which actually got a buff from this. I'm pretty sure it was a 4x3 dot, and Noxious got nerfed. So Incision could have stayed at 3 on mastery. Surgeon, Incision. Comparing, on the left side, this +1 bleed dealt for 1 battle on a combo target is a really cool idea. So this is kind of an infinite scaling type of thing, which in any roguelite where you can crank the difficulty and stuff, usually having some kind of way to keep increasing your damage scaling is beneficial. However, you know, with Jester or some of the other stuff with combo right now, this can get pretty high pretty fast. Like, you have to Incision every turn, but this can get pretty high. So I don't know if this will get capped, you know, at like +5 or something like that, but we'll see what happens. Otherwise, they lowered the base bleed on it to match that change. And when it's mastered, you get +1 on burn duration as well. But Mag Rain has not changed here, so it's just +4. And then gain on Killing Blow, 3 regen, or 2 regen for 3 turns with Incision, which is an interesting choice. We'll have to see how it works out. So yeah, Battlefield Medicine, this is what I wanted to talk about here. So this isn't, you know, plus 99% healing. This is effectively, if you have all 3 dot types, it's doubled. So it, with healing skills, healing given, that's how it generates, or maths out. So the 25% gets multiplied essentially by ×2, because we're just rounding up 1% with all 3 dot types. So you can heal half of someone's life against Hollow Vessel, and then remove it also. Ounce now cannot be used in the back rank, but it can be used up front. So this is like the rank 1 PD path. Self, block, targets, stun res, move res. This is almost like the drummer's marching order. And then the master version, you get debuff res and stress res. So I don't know. I don't entirely known. Just because these are like, if you want to counter the Shroud, this is the one button answer to the Shroud, and it's fighting and mechanics and stuff. But yeah, Emboldening Vapors does not have all the token removal anymore, but it gives block, so strength and block, and Mastered gives strength and block as well. So that's okay. Like, I don't think you press this Mastered unless you, or Unmastered, you know, unless you're really stacking damage on someone. But Mastered should be okay. Disoblast can only be used up front, deals 1 to 3 damage on hit, gives Plague Doctor block, knocks back the enemy, dazes them. And on Mastery, knocks back 2, does 2 to 5 damage. What the heck? That's pretty big. And then a play on crit, Immobilize. So the same thing with this Immobilize is something that worried me with Bulwark Rampart, where even with the crit, they may resist the knockback, but then you immobilize them and that could screw something else up. But, you know, you get both, it's good. Cause of Death. On hit, doubles all bleed base, and then Mastered doubles all dots on the target. So instead of doing all the damage immediately and cashing it out, and Cause of Death on Wanderer got Execute 1. I forgot about that. Very cool. This one doubles all damage over time the target has. You only get 1 use of it. And for as strong as this is, I would almost rather see it balanced out a bit more, but how do you do that with, you know, an effect like this? And give it more use limits, because I know that a lot of people like the Occultist change where Unchecked Power, or no, Warlock Chaotic Offering is no longer a passive baked into the class. Instead, it's a passive that you have to spend a point on to master it and then put it on your bar but never press it. The idea is cool, and people seem to like it. I'm not saying it should be gone, but it reminds me of Chaotic Offering when I see this Cause of Death, which is, if you want the player to interact with the game and think out stuff and all that, then doing something where you immediately remove a button from them is kind of counterproductive. So Cause of Death is either you don't press it at all, because there's no need to, or you swing it and you get 1 shot of it, and that's it. Of course, there's still player skill involved where you have to time that and understand the risk reward, you know, what you're giving up and all that, and make it count. So there is that, but I don't know. I'm a little wary about doing things that take buttons off the bar immediately, like this and Chaotic Offering. But again, if people like it, I'm not going to stop it. I'm not that type of person. Alchemist. The one everyone's been wanting to get nerfed, or at least all the veteran players. And this is going to kind of screw up all of the new players, because this was a very strong path that people relied on. Not saying it had to stay strong, of course. Noxious Blast. Has Blight Res Piercing when target is bleeding. And then has bonus Blight Duration when mastered if the target is burning. So PD is really interacting with all of the damage over time types. I'm glad they put it in alphabetical order right here. Roll that mixes bleed, blight, and burn alike to lethal effect. Thank you. It's alphabetical. It's also in order. Burn's the latest one to come in. Thank you. 20% crit, but no on-hit damage, and I'm really kind of confused by the choice of having that high crit rate, because crit rate, all it does now with damage over time, not giving, you know, bonus rounds, is potentially stress healing and res pen. Res pen's still important, And it is decent for stress healing, but is that enough, you know, to justify anything? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, do you even master this? I'm just looking at it. Because you get the res pierce on bleed, and it's only one damage over time. It's 3 damage. So it's not like a huge increase if you use it. You'd have to have a burning target to make this worthwhile, because that's an extra 6. Plus the 3, I guess. So you'd have, what, plus 9? Because you'd have the... Actually, hold on. Let's count this out. So the damage goes up by 1. So that's plus 3 damage. It gets 1 extra round. So that's times 3, right? So that's 9 damage, I think. So an extra 9 damage for having that. That's a pretty solid mastery in that case. But you need burn at that point. Plague Grenade. Got the same treatment. When they're bleeding, you get bonus res pierce, and when they are burning, you get the extra damage. And it still has a cooldown. And they made it way stronger out the gate. Like, it's a 4-turn blight immediately. Like, they nerfed it, and then this kind of unnerfs it. I'm not sure about this. We'll see. The issue here is there isn't a lot of bleed that hits rank 4 reliably. You know, if you got Bounty Hunter and Caltrops, you have items. You have Anamnesis, but like those are pretty specialized. Like Jester doesn't hit rank 4, Hellion doesn't hit rank 4 with bleed. Highwayman, right? Outside of Riposte, but otherwise, the lack of rank 4 reach for bleed teams has been, you know, the blind spot for a long time. Because a lot of people think there aren't bleed teams in the game. You can't have a bleed team. You just can't hit rank 4 that easily. You know, you have to do something about it or just burst it directly. And that means that this Plague Grenade only gets kind of like that, like half the efficiency in most teams. But it's still good. I mean, it got buffed. Let's not kid ourselves. It got buffed from Wanderer. So, it's going to be good. Disoblast. Does on-hit damage again. Applies burn to the target. That's a lot of burn. She gets Firefly. Just gets really good Firefly. Right? Am I tripping? 2 to 4, 3 damage burn, and then upgrade it's 5. And PD wait, what? Huh? No, my thing, it broke. Alright. Oh, now, oh god, they flipped. That's an interesting bug, Red Hook. Interesting bug. I'm sure someone else found that too. Alright. Yeah, so... Oh, because she's on... Wait, what? Oh my god, I'm so confused. This hurts. It's painful. So it's assuming she's on Alchemist now, even though she's Wanderer. Okay. Okay. But yeah. This is better Firefly in a lot of cases. So we definitely need that runaway rework. The run-a-work. I don't know what else to call it, but you get the days on hit, stun on combo. That's pretty freaking good. Mag Rain hits 1 target. Oh, she can set herself up. There we go. Okay. So yeah, hits 1 target, cooldown 2. If the target's blighted... Wait, no. Target burn. So the normal burn. If target is blighted, they get bled. And if target is bleeding, they get blighted. And then upgraded, you get bonus crit when you get an extra 15 crit if they're already burning. So if you hit this back to back or if you have runaway. I'm going to ask a very, very important question. And I want everyone to think about it. Did Alchemist get buffed? After all said and done, knowing how strong Alchemist was, did it get buffed? It's more complex, but not hard enough to pull off a lot of the stuff. The same thing happened with, like, Man-at-Arms, where, like, they nerfed Sergeant because it was so close to Wanderer, so they made it different. But, like, Man-at-Arms came out of the rework stronger. Plague Doctor's coming out of this rework stronger. Which I'm actually not opposed to, in theory. Because the enemies are pretty strong and ridiculous at points in this game. So giving the player a little more power is good. Like, I'm not against that at all, but it just seems an odd choice to me. Cause of death on Alchemist. 5 to 8 damage on hit, cooldown 1, ignores block when blighted. Bonus flat damage of 3 up to 4 when they're bleeding, and then bonus crit when burning. Also ignores dodge on mastery. So if they're bleeding, you just howling end them. Is what I'm reading. That's pretty... That could be pretty good, huh? The question is, though, is it stronger than just spamming Incision? Which... it might not be. I don't know, you get these nice effects of ignoring tokens, you get this good on-hit damage. But if you're sticking that bleed consistently, is it better to just keep hitting that? Or do you hit Incision? Or hit this or hit Incision, I'm not sure. But then you give up some of this other stuff too, which is, you know, not as cool. Position. Oh, I got it. Okay. I don't know how to fix this bug. Okay. Did I fix it? Okay, I did. Woo. Nice. Alright, Physician Noxious Blast has debuff piercing when comboed and blade piercing when comboed as well. Now, Noxious Blast weakens the target. Duration increased when comboed, and then later on it does double weaken. So this seems cool. You know, it's not as damage oriented, it's more debuff oriented. And I dig it. I do. So, with the changes to Ordainment, Weaken's going to be better. Well, I shouldn't even say better. It's going to work properly now. It's going to be like an actual minus 50. So that makes it pretty solid. So this should be good. Like, you do a little bit less damage, but you mitigate the damage coming into your team. And weak tokens, with that in mind, can be pretty strong. Also thinking of Bastard's Beacon now. Bastard's Beacon with the new Ordainment change is going to be nice, I would think. Maybe I'll actually give a crap and finish it. Ounce of Prevention on Physician. Trades the debuff res for stress res. Is that worth pressing? You know, now that the enemies don't have inherent res pen, it might be. Actually, 20% is a pretty solid amount, honestly. Like, if we can be serial with each other, 20% is a pretty good amount. So, this'll... if this hits the whole party, it's going off like once a turn, most of the time. Like, once a round. Or multiple. Vapors on Physician. Removes all weaken before applying strength, and gives speed on a 1-turn cooldown. You know, is... I see the logic where, you know, you give someone 2 strength, you don't want to hit them again with it the next turn, so that's why it does the cooldown. But I don't know, I guess this would be too strong if you could spam it. But it doesn't feel like it would be that too strong. Disorienting Blast again. Target Shuffle. Hey. Days, remove riposte. We have another way to get rid of riposte, which is really nice. Mastered. Days, vuln, remove riposte. Comboed, stun. I dig it. Mostly, okay. Having a few conflicting thoughts. I don't like this though, what they've been doing with the crits going from 5 to 15. Like, start it at 10 or make it go to 10. I don't know. Just, it's like, there are so many skills in this game where you go, I don't really need to master this, so you don't. And so they're like, we're going to give it 15 crit instead of 10. Look at all this crit you get. You want to master it for that, right? I like it though because you are usually going to get 2 effects out of these most of the time. So if you remove riposte, great. You can get maybe the shuffle and the days, or either or. But even if you don't remove the riposte, the days can still be helpful, especially in kingdoms, because I think the kingdoms monsters have been a really good example of how good days can be, just because of like various speeds or mechanics, and then you can just slow them down for that turn. But then when it's mastered, you can nuke something because they get the vuln token also. And then we have Cause of Death. Cooldown 3, hits rank 4. They really need to change the animation for this to not be like the knife hit. You know, because that would make it just more unique and kind of showcase it hitting into rank 4 a bit better. I was thinking, you know, the knife hit, if they kept one version for each path, that'd be pretty cool. Like the Wanderer could have the knife, right? Surgeon could have the knife hit. Alchemist should be like a bottle throw. Wait, what? You have to be up front? They really want to give you the opportunity to spam Incision with Cause of Death. And it's still melee. And then same with this, but it's a weird looking melee attack. Anyway. Target receives bonus blight, burn, or bleed for 3 rounds. Target deals less damage over time for 3 rounds. That's hot. That's hot. You can see the immediate value with Aspirant Occultist, because that's the malediction that does the damage over time still. And so you just throw that on, you know. Debuff applies an additional time on crits. This additional time ignores res. Gosh. I know we're cleaning up tooltips, we're doing a great job, but like when you have to just footnote that in, that's there might be a better way to do that, right? Maybe. And then on the master version, the cooldown is down to 2. So you can really neuter some enemies and then really stack some DOT on them. So even though we lost the... I guess we need to wait and see the whole picture, because we lost the crit damage over time bonus. You know, just for everyone. But if they keep doing these things, or they make it so damage over time interacts with skills and debuffs in different ways, then it could be pretty cool. Honestly, I've been saying this since like the start of early access. I really wish that the damage over time types had different effects attached to them. Like the ones that are the easiest connections I can think of are bleed has a chance of like vulning a target, blight weakening them, that's perfect, and then burn can either daze them or like or bleed could daze them. And then burn can weaken them or blind them or something like that. But we don't have those, but I think now would be a good time to implement something like that. Just thinking off the top of my head, so. I believe that's it. I thought about giving all my thoughts on Occultists, but I don't think this video is the place to do it. And I'm going to wait till the other reworks start coming out, and we get to kind of see and gauge the power levels. So I also don't want this video to be 2 hours. Might have said that. Anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you're thinking down below in the comments. My initial reaction is this rework for PD is not as complex as the Occultist Overhaul. So I guess that's cool. Makes sense, though. PD's a starter character. Anyway, I'm out. Thanks for watching. See you next time.